Welcome to I Am Woke. I'm your host, Emelina Calder. In today's video, I want to take you guys through quantum leaping, timeline jumping. You know, we're all sprinting through a lot of really big timeline portals right now, and I've had a lot of urgency come through from Spirit this morning to channel this message for you guys because I know a lot of you are riding on the same energy frequency as I am. And to a degree, it's my understanding that a lot of people are drafting off of me in the 5D. So I know how I'm processing my energy and how I'm making my jumps. And because I know so many of you are connecting to me etherically, I hear a lot of you. I feel your presence. And because of that, I feel a level of responsibility of letting you know how I'm jumping, because I know so many of you are following, and I know that not just following, but participating, I think it would be a better word of saying that. And I know it can feel wildly disorienting. So I wanted to bring some clarity around some of these esoteric energies and make this like a physical conversational dialogue in a way that would help any or all of you, as always, with any of my readings, with any of my speakings, with anything that I do. Take what you love, leave the rest. If it doesn't resonate, the message is not for you. If it does resonate, then consider the message for you. Okay, so let's jump right into my traditional intro here. Hello, welcome. If you're new, my name is Emelina Calder. I am a spiritual mentor, a high performance coach, both in personal branding, digital marketing, and in life, in transformation, in personal identity, and in healing. I'm also a psychic medium. That's the wherewithal of how I access the cosmic downloads and data. It's through my own personal experience, my own quantum work, my own healing, and my incredible psychic abilities, of which I have many, many, many of them. So that's what we got there. If you haven't heard yet, I have a free meditation, a guided meditation that I know you're absolutely gonna love, to reestablish and reconnect with your own source connection, which is gonna help you pull all of your energy back to yourself, so that if you feel like this does resonate with you and you are moving through this quantum space, constant jumping, which is not gonna end anytime soon, that you feel like you're doing so with all of yourself, all of your soul, so that you don't feel like you're getting fragmented in the process, if that makes sense. Anyway, I've dropped a link in the description below. It's at immelina.com/meditation. Also, if you're interested in the Akashic Records and reading and learning about your own Akashic Records, I have a free Akashic Records training, also tagged below, immelina.com/training. Is that all we've got for housekeeping? Logistics, I'm trying to think of anything else. I think that's it, so I'm gonna jump right in. I'm also gonna move my light, because I don't know. I get pretty good light in this apartment, but anyway. Okay. Thank you guys for being here. This is intended to be a timeless message at any time space that you listen to it. Thank you for those that are here now. Thank you for those that pop in and watch this video later. So again, I just want to state my intention, and then I'm just going to flow of consciousness kind of move through what I've been working with and whatever downloads Spirit Source, Divine Mother, Divine Father, and the Law of One want to send through. Again, this message is coming through with a significant level of urgency. I don't know exactly what that means for you guys, but that urgency this morning told me that there's a level of responsibility that I have to communicate the energetics to help as many people. You could literally, even like in my channel right now, I'm stumbling over my words. That's how prominent this message needs to get out there. Like how avid that is because it's almost like it should have been posted yesterday, but I didn't receive the insight to post it yesterday. But that's the energy behind it. I'd apologize for my seeming chaos. I feel like I'm in a kind of chaotic energy, but I really actually feel like that's just the active momentum of the fact that I think you guys need this information. And by I think, I mean Spirit told me this morning. So let's jump in. I know traditionally I'm a little bit more goofy. I'm not feeling that today. I am feeling dedicated, disciplined, responsible, focused. So that is the energy that is coming through to you from this channel, and that is the energy that Spirit is asking you to occupy at this time. So here's the deal. They're showing me right now, this is a really big choice point for a lot of you, which is why this is coming through with such urgency, with such focus and determination, because let me think of how to explain this. Like your train, you're hauling ass down some tracks, right? You're going, I don't know how fast trains go, like 100 miles an hour. Is that crazy? I don't know. So anyway, you're going really fast and you have to make a rapid decision. This is the choice point you're at right now, where you're going to go left or you're going to go right. The train, you know, I forget what these terms are called. I'm getting the images, but I don't know the specifics in the language. Like where the tracks switch. I don't know if you guys played with trains when you were young. I did. I had an entire train set. But like where the tracks switch and you have to make that decision on the train much earlier than the actual choice point of which path you're going to choose. And if you were to choose too last minute, you'll derail the train. What that would look like for you guys in your consciousness is derailing all of your spiritual momentum, which is to, I don't want to scare you, but this is just what they're giving me. It's to take your manifestations, smash them into a brick wall and have them crash and burn. You've put in a certain amount of energy, right? A certain amount of spiritual momentum into the life that you're creating, into the lifestyle that you want to build, into moving into your highest aspects and away from the karmic realities that you were raised in, that you were cultivated in, you know, whether that was parents, whether that was significant others, like abusive partners, whether that was, they're showing me career circumstances where you feel like you're chained to a job, whether that was financial missed opportunities, hardships. You know, there's a lot of circumstances that we feel held to when they are rooted in our previous experience, when there's a lot of like evidence to support that that is reality in 3D. You guys have been doing the work, the massive quantum shifting and healing in your consciousness, in your awareness, to understand that you have a lot more say in how things get to go down here on Earth for you than what everyone has told you. Those of you watching and listening that this resonates with are actively doing that work. And in doing that, you're at a big, again, choice point right now, a fork in the road, but you're not walking, you're on a steam engine. So anyway, all of that momentum, all this life that you're creating, which is away from your past and towards your future, the version of you that is your most favorite self, the version of you that you want to embody, that you want to become, all of that is your higher potential. And as you're steering towards your higher potential, you're conscious and aware all of that potential has built up as spiritual and energetic momentum. Even though it's invisible, it is like the momentum of a freight train. So here's the deal. You're at a choice point. You are choosing between lower and higher realities. Once you make the choice, you can't go back for a certain period of time. It's not that you can't ever go back to this choice. It's that there's a lot of urgency. I don't know, there's so much urgency, but even as I said it and reclaimed it right now, I can feel they're parting the energy away again, which is telling me that there's safety. What are you guys saying to me? The urgency is the message, it's the communication for your consciousness to have this awareness present. The safety is once you have this awareness present, you'll make the right actions for yourselves. That actually your spirit guides are all working through me and have all been tapping on my fields, being like, please, Emelina, step in and say this, because they all need to hear it, because we're all trying to get a hold of them for this choice point. This choice point is your consciousness. If you are consciously aware that you are quantum leaping, you'll be able to give yourself the emotional and mental comfort that your ego is going to need to develop the pride on the breakthrough, to develop the pride for the leap, rather than the pride for keeping shit the same. Rather than, and this is what the ego will do if it's not conscious, rather than what the ego will do is fight for its limitations. Have you guys heard that in entrepreneur circles? Gosh, I've been an entrepreneur since I was like 18, maybe even younger, actually. And that's said all the time. Like, you're gonna fight for your limitations or you're gonna fight for your potential. And what they're showing me is that the ego will fight for limitations until you're able to give your ego the conscious attention and awareness for it to realize that there is more to gain more pride, more external recognition by making the leap. The ego is rather mental. Once the ego understands that there is more pain in fighting for limitation and that there's more pride and more to gain in taking the leap into the unknown, the ego will get on board and then will become your total complete asset in your spiritual ascension. And I feel like I should mention this is not like a one-time thing. This is something you have to constantly work with your ego on. However, what they're showing me is at this point in time right now is if you work with your ego in this way, give your ego the mental understanding and prowess it needs to get on board with your spiritual work. The ego's here for it. Like, you're all here for it. It's your pride. It's your stamina. It's the longevity of what you believe you can have. It's the strength of your character. The soul of your character is communicated through the strength of your character. The strength of the character is your own personal will. It is your ego. Without the ego, you are not you. Now, are you the you behind the you? You guys, a lot of you will understand what I'm saying with that. Yes, you are. You're always going to be you, but you won't be you. Okay? The second you that involves your ego is your particular experience in this incarnation, your particular expression, creative expression, self-expression, your particular way of doing things, your particular experience, what you've experienced, how you've experienced it, what you've decided, what is true for you, how you change yourself and others, how you vibrate, how you be, all of that has to do with your ego. And if you remove the ego construct, container, they're actually showing me the ego is the container for your soul expression in this experience. If you remove the ego, you go back to the oneness. And here's what they're saying to me is if you're in the oneness, that's beautiful and wonderful, but there's nothing to create from that oneness. You go into the void. And the void is beautiful. This message, some of you aren't going to get it, and I'm just going to have to be okay with that because that's how this message is coming through. A lot of you that are into this work will be able to keep up with me, and that's who this message is going to be for. So if it doesn't resonate, I'm sorry. That's just what Spirit is sending through to me right now without all the mental explanation. I do feel like I have to constantly set rails on the terms for things. One of my friends said to me recently, they're like, you always talk like in terms and agreements and contracts. I'm like, well, I am a Libra. We are the judges. We are justice and balance carriers. But yeah, essentially everything is a contract, an agreement, a term. And I like to set those terms because I like to be transparent, honest, and available on what my intentions are and who these messages are for. So that you can keep your own sovereign power and authority, and I can keep mine, and we can harmoniously either agree to disagree or agree. Either way, it's harmonious. Okay. Where else did I want to go with this? Spirit, bring my attention back. Choice point. This message is carrying with it a transmission that will help you know what to choose. Your guides just needed your mental awareness on board and your ego to jump on board so that you don't sabotage your blessings that are coming. Those blessings are going to involve you making a hard choice. Hard. I don't mean difficult. I mean hard as in like a hard left, like immediate, urgent, now. Like your life might go in a totally different course than you thought, but it feels right. You know it to be right, and your angels and guides needed your free will permission to be able to reroute your track so that you can have your destiny, your wealth, your health, deep soulmate love, beautiful family, compassion. They're saying great sex, so I'm going to say great sex. The wealth is being highlighted. Homes are being highlighted. A lot of you don't have homes and are going to be on tracks to own your homes. They're showing that very clearly to me, which means there's a certain amount of adversity for a certain amount of you that will need to be overcome in that process. That spirit is taking over and rearranging the circumstances of your life to bring you in higher alignment with everything that you are born to receive, everything that you are meant to receive. And this is coming through now too. I've been schooled by, not schooled in a bad way, but just like my guides have been schooling me recently on soul contracts. I know you guys don't know the behind the scenes of what goes on with me. I am sorting through a lot of adversity. And I'm of course not going to go into any level of detail with that, but I know that I can be very bubbly and very bright and very charismatic. It is no discredit to say that things have been easy. Where I'm going with this is that, and I loved, someone commented recently to me the idea that, you know, do we choose our soul contracts? Do we choose the circumstances we enter into in this life, or does it happen to us? And this is a very complicated answer, but I'm going to touch on it in a couple of different ways, because my conscious awareness, my attention has brought my conscious attention to some things recently that I've had to grieve some very, very deep loss that I had as a child, that I didn't realize. I'll explain this. So most of us choose our parents. All of us choose our parents. But then some of, whatever, I'll leave that for later. Let me scoot around this. So we choose to incarnate as the person that we are. We choose the circumstances. But here's the deal. Depending on the level of severity of the mission that you chose when you incarnated as a soul in this human form, will depend on if those soul contracts are upheld with integrity, or if they are hijacked, changed without the agreement of your free will. And then you have to adapt to new circumstances. I'm literally going to cry. I feel like actually this is happening to a lot of you, and I feel like a lot of you have had to deal with this but didn't have the words or awareness to understand what it was, because I didn't until this moment, like until the last few days. And for you guys to know, I move through consciousness very, very quickly. Things that would take people a year to unpack, I will unpack in a day. And I do it very smoothly and efficiently with my guides. I know what to pay attention to. I know what not to worry about. I make my leaps quickly. I take actions quickly, because you can work the energy through in action. Not in action, like through action. So whenever I can, I move into action, because that's actually how I forcibly process my energy faster in a way that doesn't make me feel ungrounded, because the action grounds us into physical, practical reality. It bridges the miraculous with the material, and makes it move forward in a material way. And that might be helpful for you guys to know, is if you're feeling ungrounded, if you're feeling like you're constantly tripping, which is something I have had to deal with a lot because of the amount of consciousness I'm working through spiritually and how consciously attentive I am to it and aware of it. If you want to skip that feeling of the too high, the floating away, I'm not sure which reality is real, this is part of quantum jumping. Okay? You can actually expand your consciousness exponentially more than your mind can keep up with what is happening. Carolyn Myss calls that spiritual madness. Some people can see that as mental illness. Some people can see that as tripping. Ultimately, what it all comes down to is that your spiritual consciousness in this expression is moving faster. I'm just comments. Yeah, I mean, it is intense. Like I said that in the beginning, but you could go back and watch. It's, oh my gosh, I just lost my train of thought though. I love comments. Oh, you said feels like I'm tripping on acid. Okay, thanks for reminding me. I'm like, I love comments, but I also get distracted so easily. Lots of love right back to you. If you feel like in any way that you're tripping, it's because, I mean, unless you're actually tripping, like on drugs. You guys get what I'm saying. But when you're like sober tripping, here's the deal. Your consciousness, and this happens to a lot of people and nobody talks about it, and they run around disassociated from their life because they don't know how to integrate it. And I totally get it, and I've been there and I understand. So hopefully this is helpful for a good amount of you. Your consciousness can expand exponentially faster than your mind and your ego's ability to process it. and to understand it. It will make you feel crazy. The way that you get around that is you have to ground the etheric energy into material reality as quickly and as frequently as possible. So I did a big, big up level this past weekend. And into this week, I'm moving a lot of energy. I'm creating a lot of new portals, and I know you guys are riding on some of those periphery energy waves with me again, which is why I'm here explaining this. If I did not anchor that energy in with physical, practical momentum, consistently, with accountability, with people around me that I trust, that are in my soul family, holding me accountable to that physical, practical reality, I would go off like a spinning top somewhere, and you guys would think I was crazy. Or other people, who knows, who cares? Ultimately, the way that we create sanity, and I'm gonna put that in quotes because it really is relative, because it's not that the people that are in the more tripping state are insane. That's not true. It just has to do with, can your ego can construct a container for you to maintain your strength of will and your strength of character while you are expanding into the void, into the unknown, into oneness, right? Ultimately, we are all one. We are also separate. Both of those things are concrete realities. If we just go, oh, I'm one, I'm one, I'm one, and we forget to use our ego and go, I'm one, I'm one, I'm one, okay, I'll remember love, but like, F, I gotta pay my rent. Like, shit's gonna get done. There are actual physical threats and dangers that I have to deal with. There are actual things that need to happen on the material plane. You float off into the void, into oneness. Without your ego, there's nothing to construct a personal matrix of existence in the now. When you go back straight to the void and assume everything is one without your ego, and again, hopefully I'll be able to unpack this in more videos too, because this is more than like a 20-minute conversation. This is like a week workshop. You need the construct of the ego to remind you of, yes, your infinite nature exists, but you need to harness it into your current pride-filled physical, practical, material expression. Without that physical, practical, material expression, you will not survive here, okay? Part of spirituality is understanding the integration of both the divine and the human. The human has an ego that is an asset. The issue is that we have been taught that the ego is not an asset. And we have been taught that the ego is consistently in the shadowed archetype of the self. And that is anchored throughout our culture, everywhere, and throughout all the religious cultures. Because I'm gonna go off on a soapbox because they're having me go there. The channel is having me do it, all right? Because most of the religious and spiritual figures that we look up to in leadership are not physically, materially attentive. They have other people paying their rent. They have other people paying their bills. They have other people giving them food and clothes on their backs. And it's not a discredit to them. It's more that I'm saying to you that if you follow in those footsteps, you would have to do the same, which is to completely give up the construct of your personal will and the construct of the strength of your character, which is also to give up the construct of the assets of the development through which you have lived personally and how you have created your own character development based on the experiences that you have experienced. I know this is getting heady. Again, follow along if you can. I think a lot of you will be. If it's too much, I'm sorry. That's how the message is coming through right now. At another point, I will make this a little bit more practical, but I just want to acknowledge in my channel right now that I know that I'm speaking to a more intermediate and advanced audience. If you do have questions as I'm going here, leave them in the comments below. I'm going to continue my consciousness stream. Spirit is bringing my attention back to the soul contracts. Okay, so we come in with soul contracts. How, our families, our financial status, generally speaking, Relationships, love relationships, anything and everything. Now here's the deal. When we actually get here, again, depending on the level of the work that you have been assigned, things can go very wrong. And by very wrong, I just mean I call those rogue contracts. That is a new term I just developed because I think that's what it is. Now, do I have problems with them? No, I'm built for this sort of life. I'm built for rapid adaptability. There are people that are not like me in that way, that have more standard contracts that are adhered to and followed through the duration of their lives, because that is as their soul wanted to experience. Now, I'm touching on this because of a comment someone made to me recently, so I want to bring this forward. Also, it's coming up in the collective consciousness. Whatever, we're just going to cut through and move through it. Clearly, you guys need to hear this. So here's the deal. Do we choose our circumstances? Yes. However, do we choose our circumstances? It depends. I'm going to give you an example. My soul mission, part of my soul mission, what they've been showing me is, I'm going to give you a military example because that is a practical material example to explain energetic contracts. Okay. I'm not actually doing this physically, but I'm going to explain it in a very militant way. So if I were to look at my soul contracts coming into this life, here's what happened. Okay, my soul and all of the guides around me were like, okay, you're going in, here are the contracts, but here's the deal. You're going in behind enemy lines. You are a paratrooper. You have been trained. You are a spicy killing machine. Etherically, like that. Don't take that the wrong way, you guys. But like when you're trained in the military, you're trained for self-defense, you're trained for offense, you're trained in a variety of skill sets. I like Navy SEALs or paratroopers as an example, and thank you so much to all of you that are in any level of service. Because Navy SEALs and paratroopers are trained to be the most versatile. And that is the experience energetically that I feel like I came into this life with. So those are the initial soul contracts. Depending on what your soul wants is what you will choose. I chose a behind enemy lines territory energetically. So what did I choose? Because we could look at it and go, well, the contract should have been bop, 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 bop. Did the contracts go as planned? Oh no, they didn't. Which I didn't know until recently. I thought I had chosen the whole thing. So then it's like, back out a minute from the granular choices of the soul contracts, back out. What was the original soul contract? The original soul contract is I agreed to have a human experience behind enemy lines. Do we know what's going to happen? No, because I'm behind enemy lines. There is so much that can go wrong, that can go rogue, that can go unplanned. The reason why I'm not sour about this in my life and how I digest my experiences is because I knew I was a paratrooper and I knew what I signed up for. I knew I was capable. I knew I could handle it. So all of that to say, I more just want to point out that you could come in with initial soul contracts where people were supposed to be of service in a certain way, or as a child, you should have been looked after in a certain way. And then those people had used their free will to deny you access to what was promised to you. Now, that can't be done permanently because God's will is real. Divine will always override. The point here is for you to know that is, if your mentality, your mental understanding, and your ego can get on board, spirit, your angels, your guides can step in and reroute your contracts to bring you back into alignment with your birthright, right? With your destiny, with the original choice point, with what it is that you actually agreed to live in this life before everything went rogue and went off the tracks. The law of balance is real, you guys. For those of you that don't know, I'm not sure how many people talk about this, but if something goes rogue, if something goes wrong, in that moment and in every moment, you are always given the equal and opposite. You are always provided with a solution. A problem can't exist without the polarity of the solution existing. Poverty can't exist without the polarity of wealth existing. A total lack of love can't exist without true, deep love existing. They are all there at the same time. And I want to mention this to you. Spirit wants to bring your attention to your personal sovereignty and your personal power. You are not helpless, ever. You are not hopeless, ever. And if you haven't seen a very fun, goofy video I have on my channel talking about some personal spiritual experiences I had, look for the shift in perspective. I'm like wearing like goggles and talking about my sunglasses. It sounds very superficial, but it has everything to do with this channel, because if you can pull the blinders off of your spiritual ability to see what's actually happening in any moment, you'll be able to realize that to have a problem is to have the solution simultaneously, and to have the fucking resources to be resourced. I don't want to say to figure it out, because it implies that you're doing it when really Source is doing it, God's doing it. The resources are always accessible for what you need in the moment, for what it is that you need to do. Everything is balanced. All that to say, if you came in with some contracts that went into shitty soul contracts, and you went into domestic violence issues or huge addiction issues, really abusive situations, all of that can be retracked, where you are literally I was saying retract, like a new tract, but they're telling me retract, like pulled back and pulled away from you. And you are set back on your destined path, what you deserve. You are worthy of health, wealth, belonging, true love, personal self-expression in a very perfect way. What did I say? Health, wealth, love, self-expression, belonging, and community, and family. You have a right to those things. So if you didn't get them or didn't receive them earlier in your life, this is a very long-winded message, 30-minute message, to tell you that this is the choice point where Spirit is saying there's a huge opportunity right now for Spirit to take over and radically shift your life and bring you into alignment with everything you were denied. You heard me. Everything you were denied from other people in your environment that were greedy, that were self-centered, that sacrificed you in any number of ways, thinking that they could steal things from you, which isn't true, because Spirit will come back and fucking set all that shit right, as long as you allow Spirit to do so. Now, if you cling to the past, if you cling to your identity of being the person that is wronged, if you cling to the victim consciousness, and if your ego finds more value in being a victim than it does in being a hero, Spirit can't step in. Spirit can't reroute your path. Spirit can't give you the destined path, your destiny, because you are using your free will in a way that is to choose your past over the reality now. I hope this is making sense. You guys, I'm going to skim through your comments after this as well. I wish I could read them all more, but I get like so distracted too, so I'll look through at the end. So let me swing back. It has to do with your free will. People use free will in a lot of more negative ways. I want to touch on this because when people say, oh, but you have free will, they're always assuming that, oh, but that free will is turning you away from what you're meant to have, or away from the soul contracts you're meant to receive. Oh, but everybody has free will. Yes, everybody has free will. And if I can be honest with you, I'd say at least 50% of that free will is your choice to get out of the mess. Not necessarily that God put you in, but that your life put you in, because other people were running unconsciously. God bless them. I am a pro at loving people from afar that have sent me daggers. And having them nowhere near me, you know, like whatever they're doing, they're doing their best unconsciously. Do I accept it? No. Absolutely not. But can I empathize with it? Yeah, I can. So it's about understanding that you can use your free will, and that a lot of people do frequently use their free will as the way to choose a better life, and the life that you actually are deserving of, and that is your right to be expressed and to be expressive in. Okay, I just want to check in a little more actively with Spirit and see if there's anything to tag along that message, or just move on to my other quantum leap messages. So for those of you which the militant message resonated with, first of all, I see you. I acknowledge you. I'm sorry you've had to live through what you have had to live through. And I trust that you're able to heal yourself or surround yourself with the resources that are required for your own personal healing so that you can survive and then thrive. Most of the people that I'm speaking to on this channel are in that transition spiritually and physically, where they're shifting out of the survival mode and they can see where they're moving towards. They can see the thriving, they can see the new reality, but they're working out the spiritual PTSD in that middle transition process, trying to let go of the spider webs and the attachments of their past, the strongholds. One of my best friends calls them strongholds, that like are mental belief patterns that were implanted when we were young to have us think reality is like a certain way for us. And the far majority of the people on my channel here that are listening are in that middle point of just like letting that shit go. Easier said than done, right? Those of you that, I mean, you know, healing is, a lot of you know that healing, but regardless, I'll say it anyway. Healing is an ascension spiral. It's always ascension moving. It's moving upwards. It's ascending. It's evolving, but it is a spiral. So on each loop, you are connecting with, it can look like a very similar karmic reality, but it gets better and better and better. You learn more and more and more as you cycle up. Okay, ascension is not a point A to point B, you're done. Woo! Like, there are graduation points, just like how we graduate high school. And if you go to college, you graduate college. And that, whatever, like there are graduation points in ascension that we get to celebrate when we pass those points. I've had many graduations. But it's never done, because like after college, then what? Well, then you're looking at your career, you're building your career. There are a lot of like ascension points through your career. I'm just using this as a concrete mental example for you guys to understand the energetics. This keeps going, and it keeps going throughout the multidimensional self. Like we're just constantly like clocking experience. Think about it like a career. You're clocking experience. Now, a lot of you have ascension protocols in soulmate love relationships. A lot of you have ascension protocols, curriculums for yourselves and your soul in career or in family, in raising children. That's a whole ascension protocol. In wealth building, there are a lot of different ascension practices, okay, and ascension curriculums for whoever needs to hear this, because I'm seeing dozens of you that need to hear this. Do not judge someone else's ascension. You don't know their curriculum. There is no one way. Everyone has a different track. Ascension is not a linear process. It is more likened to a sphere. In that sphere, there are many threads of consciousness that ascend to their full completion and acknowledgement and complete awareness. And many of us are tackling our ascension in perhaps 2 to 10, maybe even more, depending on how aware you are, curriculums in your single lifetime. So 2 to 10 threads in one lifetime in this sphere, but the sphere is filled with all of consciousness. Like, you're not going to have the ascension of all of consciousness at one time. You're just going to have the threads that you're personally working on, the stories, if you will. And we love the stories. We love the backstory, because without it, you're just in the void. And the void, for those of you that this will resonate with, the void is equally as magical. It's beautiful. It's the potential, though. It's not the act of the creation. It's the potential of creation. So you're constantly like kind of floating between the consciousness. I feel like I'm on a teeter-totter. What do you call it? A seesaw right now. We're constantly floating on this consciousness in our ascension practice, no matter where we are, between the void, the potential, and the creation and the story. And when the story needs to change, we go back to the void. And we go, what's the potential? And then we craft a story. Is it still a story? Is it the nature of reality? Debatable, right? I mean, yes, it's the nature of reality. It's the nature of your reality as you experience it. And then you might think, well, oh, but is that real? Well, yeah, it's real for you. You know, my guides told me yesterday, because I came to this yesterday or the day before, and I was like, but if I go back to the void, if I go back to oneness, then there's just nothing. So it's almost like we need the story to build the construct for us to actually live anything. If you think about it like a video game character, I don't know any of the games, I don't play video games, but God, I love the concept of character building. It's like you're building a character without the backstory. You have no idea their motives. You have no idea how they move, what decisions they would make. It would make absolutely no sense without the context. You need the context for the character. You need the challenges for the character to overcome, to then figure out and develop who they are and how they make choices. I am so thrilled this channel is coming through in the way that it did. I could not have planned this, but I'm very excited about it because I actually feel like this is a very in-depth, psychologically stimulating, philosophical conversation for those of you that are into it. Okay. Spirit, where do you want to take me next? I try to keep, somewhere in my head, I'm like, I'm going to keep these messages short, and I can't. It's like not possible. So we'll go until the message is complete. All right, Law of One, talk to me. Okay, so here's what happens. Essentially that was part one, which is what this ascension process can look like in the process of quantum leaping. What the choice point is right now for you as you're watching this video. Your guides are bringing your attention to it so that you can give them permission, because they will not override your free will. Give them permission to rearrange your life and set you on the course of your destiny, set you on the track of everything that you were promised when you incarnated. And I promise there were promises. They're just not all delivered because we're not entirely sure what we're doing half the time. I'm giving you some cheat codes, all right? These are like, again, in the video game reference, I'm giving you the cheat codes, okay? I'm like, go here, pick up your treasure here. This is where you're gonna get your weapons. This is where you're gonna get your health and provisions. I don't even know how I know this much. Can you tell I've been around video gamers in my past? Because I never played them, but I have the references. So, like, I'm giving you the cheat codes for the levels. The level that you're at right now is the level, the Matrix video game level of Ascension, okay, but it's still a video game. You're still in a simulation of the point where you are between the past and between the potential. That is the level that I'm giving you the cheat codes for right now for you to be able to hack this level so that you can get to the heaven, okay? The heaven is living your potential in a material way that makes you happy. Happiness is the hack. All right? You can be happy now. You're going to be happy the whole time if you make a choice to do that. Happiness is a choice. It doesn't come with the operating system. But anyway, I'll skip that. Like, you guys got it. Okay, so here's the deal. I'm going to go through a few points on what these quantum leaps look like. Again, I really feel the need to try to relate this back to material examples. Otherwise, I'm just in heady esoteric talk, and I don't like to just be there. I like those of you that have worked with me one-on-one, my clients, you know that I like to ground things in reality in any way that I can. I like using metaphors and examples, practical reality situations and scenarios to illustrate the energetics, because otherwise the energetics just run in some floating cloud somewhere. Perhaps on other planets, they explain it in a different way. I don't know, nor do I care. Okay, so moving on. So you're working through these quantum leaps. Again, the quantum leap is the leap between the past reality that was constructed for you into your potential, moving from the void into creating from the void into your material reality. I'm placing a lot of stress on the material, okay? I don't know the benefit of being enlightened, floating off in some cloud without being able to express that enlightenment materially. We are human. We live in a material plane. We have to eat. We drive cars. We pay rent. We live in homes. We want to elevate those homes. We want to elevate everything around it. It's very material. Skipping the material is just spiritually bypassing and not claiming your humanity, which at the end of the day, for whatever, I'll make another video on it at some point. Like, I could go on a whole soapbox on this, all right? If you bypass your humanity and everything that it is to experience and make you human, which is deep emotion, which is polarity, which is steep conflict, which is to err, which is to make mistakes, which is to learn in a very materialistic way. If you bypass that, then you're bypassing your humanity, which is to just align with the soul, which is not spiritual integration. It's just choosing to live outside of this reality, look in and say, ha ha, I'm better than you. Like, I can go on a whole nother soapbox about that, about spiritual superiority. The humanity is the way. Working through your mistakes, I can't tell you how many times I've said this in the last 2 weeks to people around me and to myself. Any mistake can be corrected. Okay? It's not your job to be perfect here. It is your job to do your best. And as good humans that you all are, that are watching my channel, actually really, I'm like, really, everyone's a good human because they're just like puppies. But some are trained really poorly, right? Some make bad decisions over and over and over again and they get trained into that. But anyway, sidestepping. If you're a good human, I just lost my train of thought again. It will come back. This happens to me all the time. I'm feeling a little more loose though. I can feel that the message has been delivered. I feel like there's an air clearing. I hear that noise in the back, that beeping, which is a confirmation. At this point in this message, you have received the transmission. Now I'm going to go through and fill in the gaps on some of the mental understanding and mental awareness of some of the ascension symptoms that you might be feeling on this wave of ascension and quantum leaping right now, so that you can just feel a little bit more comfortable. I'm just like giving your mind a safety blanket, like a cozy blanket. Just be like, oh, that's what's happening. Okay. Like, let me nuzzle up. Like, and the mind needs that. All of my clients have needed that. That is one of the things that I do in spades, that people request for me and that they love about me is I'm like, I have an innate ability to translate spiritual esoteric concepts into a way that the mind and the ego can understand and digest, to have your spiritual cozy safety blanket. All right, everybody needs a rabbit. I think that's what I have. My internet just flaked out twice on me. That never happens. So let me tune into that message. That was a hard boot, like a hard reset. Your energy systems, you guys, the transmission was just given a hard reset. This is a separate secondary transmission that builds on the first, but they had to do a full energetic system reboot, which is also being transmitted to each of you through your higher selves and your own source consciousness. For those of you that don't know, I am a healer, but I am never directly working on your healing. I'll try to, let me think about how I would liken this. They're showing it like a surgeon. I'm not the surgeon going in, doing the work on anybody's healing. What I'm doing is I'm communicating to source, oh, that's what's going on over there for them. I'm an incredible, source puts me through the ringer on different tests and stuff because my system, my consciousness is incredible at coming up with antidotes immediately. Like my guides will throw me into very human circumstances just to see what I will create as the magic in the moment. And then they take that and replicate it and give it out to everybody else that needs it across the collective that's like somehow associated to me in the 5D. like a doctor, right? Like a medicine, an energy doctor. But I more want to touch on the fact that I'm not, whenever I'm doing any of my energy healing, I'm never directly working on anyone. I'm telling source from the perspective of me being a human. This is the human consciousness that's needed for this to become a comfortable experience. Comfortable, healthy, loving, wise, wealthy, intelligent, empathetic. All the things that speak to the virtues of human ascension. And then source takes those codes from me and then delivers them to all of you in the ways that all of you can best receive, in the circumstances, in the synchronicities, in the relationships. I hope that makes sense. I continually want to say it because I know that there's a difference between me and a lot of other energy workers where a lot of energy people are working directly on the person. I gotta be honest, that shit makes me nervous because I'm like, I don't want to take responsibility for that. Like, I'm like, let me give it up to source. Source, you take the wheel. So anyway, I don't know why they had me say that, but they did. You guys will learn the more channels you follow, like, it's a wild experience being a channel, like being a psychic medium and being a divine channel. Like, it's like half the time, I don't know why they're streaming through certain things. I'm like, I just have to let go of the outcome like 24/7. It's like, I don't know. But I know somebody in the audience needs to hear something. It will click into place. Their spirit guides will give them all these downloads and now their life just changed overnight. Like, and that happens to me too when I'm experiencing other people that are channeling and other mediums and really amazing practitioners. I'm like, gosh, like that just cued everything right into place for me, like life-changing over a, whatever, 30-minute stream or whatever it's gonna be. Okay, so let me package some of this medicine for your mind. Quantum leaps, all right. Look, I've got my pen. Listen up here. Quantum leaps come up like very, very big identity shifts, okay? Identity shifts can be very confronting to the ego, because an identity shift comes with an ego death. For those of you that have been through ego deaths, most of you on my channel would have lived through an ego death. It does feel like a real death, a real death. There is pain. The pain is, generally speaking, emotional, severe emotional pain paired with mental anguish. Because your ego is in conflict about where it sources the context of who you are in this world relative to what you've experienced. Without that context, the ego has no root to grab onto to decide who you are, what your character is, and therefore how to act, okay? Anyone that tells you that the ego needs to be trashed, God love them, forgive them. The ego is just wildly misunderstood. And I know my opinion won't be popular for a lot of people, and I just don't care. It's the truth. The ego is the construct that helps your character. If your ego feels threatened, it is not something to hate on, because it feels threatened because, like a child, it doesn't know where to source your actions and your motivation from. If your ego dies, which I can't tell you how many I've gone through and how, oh my gosh, the level of anguish I have been through each of my ego deaths. They get easier and easier as you go, but it's the death of your previous identity, which is the death of, it's closing timelines. They become fallen timelines, for those of you that know those terms, within your own concrete awareness. I had a moment, the biggest ego death I had, I was in Sedona in like 2018 maybe? I don't know. Yeah, 2019. I was in Sedona in 2019, and I called a friend sobbing on a vortex because I had realized that I had to kill off my previous identity before she had reached her full potential, and I had to start over. And I promise you, like, it's gonna sound awkward. Like, how could that feel like a real death? It feels like a real death. It feels like your character is just burned at the stake and you have to do it. Like, and the silver lining is you're building a new character. but there's terror in that. You have no idea what that new character does yet, what the context is of their backstory, which is incredibly important. And here's the deal. If you don't like your backstory and it's not creating good intentions and good motivations right now, you have to kill that character off at some point and create a new backstory that is more supportive of what you are living. You guys have heard me through this entire stream explain essentially what is my new backstory, and I'm very comfortable with it, which is, I'll circle back to it because I think it's important right now, even though this video is getting extraordinarily long, is that my backstory is I agreed to be a paratrooper energetically. I came in under enemy territory. I was well aware of what I was getting into. I had no idea the level of danger I would be in and what I would have to move through in order to adapt, and how quickly I would have to adapt, and how the silver lining to those skill sets are what make me such a good energy healer, is my ability to analyze without my mind. I analyze faster. My spiritual, I don't know how to describe it. My quantum analyzing capabilities are fucking off the charts, you guys. I do not think in my analyzation. Could I? Yes, but it's exhausting. My quantum computing at the soul level, my quantum computing at the soul level is what is creating the automatic medicinal response, which is the antidotal energy to help create a character with new context, with new experience that is in a more supportive, that's a more supportive facet of reality, and then being able to build the character around that facet. This, they're telling me to really give this as a concrete example because of how many of you have been watching me. I am a fucking pro at transformation. I am a pro at glow ups. I'm seeing you guys are like, Emelina, you're glowing more. Yes, that's what I do. But if you look back, my glow ups are pretty fucking severe. They're not a little bit. And if you guys even went back to when I was like 18 and then 22 and 25, all these like major points in my life, these choice points, and major conflicts that I had to move through, my glow ups are insane. Insane. I use any level of bullshit as fuel. I'm just like, nothing will stop me. I will never give up. I will never give in. I will always step up and stand up. I had a good friend tell me this weekend, he was like, you never go to defeat. If you do, it's for just a moment. And then immediately, like, you're back on track. And I'm like, yeah, that's like something I've cultivated since I was a child. It's very important to me. It is my character. But again, circling back to the identity, without the identity, like, who do you become? Who do you decide you are? And from that place, how do you act and what motivates you? The ego needs to know the reference point and the context through which you create your reality. When you understand that and you see the ego not as a prideful bastard that's trying to get you off track. I feel like I should apologize for that swear, but I don't know. Like, if it offends you, I'm sorry. If not, great. That's what came through. Okay, the Goofy's back. She's back. I feel so much better that the like relief has been provided with the urgency, the message that came through with the urgency. Anyway, so the ego, the ego is just looking, the ego is like a computer. If you think about the ego like a computer, it's looking to run the simulation of the matrix, run the simulation of the character, and bridge the gap and make sure that you have a safe character in the matrix, in the simulation, okay? The ego is not an enemy. The ego is a mental processor that's trying to keep you safe and to keep your power intact and to keep your character together. Can the ego get out of whack and become a total detriment? Yes, absolutely. And we've seen that in a million different ways, which is why I'm not going to talk to it because you guys already know. I'm going to focus on the new information that most people don't have access to, because that's where I find my personal pleasure in delivering. If you guys want the other ego stuff, search for any freaking YouTube video on the ego. Enjoy that. I see the ego as a computer that is looking to quickly understand analyze, and contextualize my motivation, my actions, and my forward movement, my trajectory, where I'm going, and to feel safe in every component of that. Because that is how I see my ego, because that's the backstory to my ego, and that's what I've decided that my ego does. And it is a very high function of ego. It's a higher level, what would we call it? Higher vibrational ego. There are different expressions, right? There are lower vibrational expressions, higher vibrational expressions. If we throw the ego into just a big category, what I'm talking about is a higher vibrational egoic expression. The lower vibrational egoic expression is what you're accustomed to hearing about. It is conflict, it is external conflict, it is fighting with others, it is being greedy, it is being highly material, it is being manipulative, trying to manipulate people into conforming to your ideas, thoughts, or opinions in order to get what they want from you. Those are typical egoic expressions. Those are low vibrational egoic expressions. Is it the norm? Yes. Does it have to be? Absolutely not. You can choose to vibrate your ego at a higher reality based in your own consciousness. And honestly, it's going to open up a whole new world for each and every one of you that decides to work with that. That's what we would call the divine ego. That's what my guides call it. They're like, there's like the human ego, which is the ego without source. And then there's the divine ego, which is the high vibrational ego that is working in service to divine will. And then it becomes the computer to run the program of your divine will, of your destiny. I'm so proud of myself even for acknowledging this and bringing this message forward. This is a straight channel. I have not heard anyone talk about this. If anyone else is, cool, we're on the same wavelength. But like, I don't know. My ego's like, I think we're in some like level of thought leadership. Isn't that rad? And I'm like, yeah. Like, you see, you're even seeing it in me. Like, I'm having these like positive ego construct conversations within myself. I'm like, hey, that was good. Like, oh, that's cool. Hiding isn't the MO anymore. Like, let's set up. Thought leadership is so much more fun. You know, if the ego knows that there's more to gain in pride, recognition, and external validation by moving into the uncomfortable and uncertain higher aspects of yourself, you'd be shocked. The ego will support you. The ego will be like, get the fuck out of that nonsense. Whatever that shit is you created in your past, the ego's like, no. What? All I wanted was external validation. Like, all I wanted was recognition. That's the ego, right? The ego's like, all I wanted was to be haughty and prideful and gloat. My guides tell me all the time, they're like, gloat, Emelina, gloat. And I'm like, what? Who said that? When does Spirit say that? Spirit says it when your ego is in a higher vibrational expression, because then it becomes an asset for you to do God's work. There's nothing to not be proud of. You should be proud of yourself and everything that you are, everything that you vibrate, everything that you be, everything that you experience, everything that you choose, every aspect of yourself, even the lower vibrational stuff. You should be proud of yourself. You should be proud of yourself. And that's the divine ego. Because without the ego, you would just be like, oh, we're all one, man. Like, just vibrate in a cloud. Smoke some weed. I don't know, whatever the hell you want to do. Like, without the ego, it's just dust. I don't know how else to describe it. Cosmic dust. You need something to contain that dust and make it into something. Just like how clay is just clay until an artist comes in and makes and builds a sculpture with their hands and brings out God's vision from the clay through the act of working it. That's your ego. That's your ego's higher purpose, okay? And it's helping you. Back to the point of the big identity shifts. I'm touching on the ego so much. They want me to talk about the ego so much because it has everything to do with how you quantum leap. It has everything to do with whether or not you step into what you deserve, is based on whether or not the ego can acknowledge it, understand it, and get on board with it. If you can get your ego on board, you've won. You've won. If you can't get your ego on board, good luck. It's going to be hard. I know from personal experience. I have had ego deaths where my ego was not on board and they were treacherous. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. Mental and emotional anguish for a very long time. When my ego gets on board, like, I can't even tell you how many identity shifts I made in the last 6 months. Like, when my ego gets on board, I'm like, hell yeah, sign me up. Like, I'm in. Because I'm like, I'm going to get everything I want. So my ego's like, okay, whatever pain comes along the way, it's better than the pain of whatever the hell that stuff is I've just lived through. So anyway, be gentle and understanding with your identity shifts. You don't even have to be gentle. Just like be, what's a better word, you guys? Be discerning. Be willing. And be okay with your ego making a mark. Be okay with your ego being present. Be okay with like I was just gonna have the mic down. Be okay with a little chest pounding. It's all right. It's all right. Like literally my guides have said it's such a practical aspect of human expression. To deny it is to deny your humanity, which is to make it very difficult for you to then move through your identity shifts. Why make it any harder than it is? I don't know, you guys. Thanks for being here. If this is too much for you, all right. If you love this, let me know. I'm just so, literally, like, I'm just so not available anymore to try to craft the messages to fit what I think people want to hear, because spirit, like, won't let me do it anymore. Like, it's just so, so in these moments you're watching, and you'll see this with a lot of channels, like, we just show up and we're like, God, I hope this is what needed to be done, because this is uncomfortable. I'm like, I feel vulnerable right now. Anyway. Thanks for being here on the Emelina Show. Okay, the second thing is that you're going to be experiencing with these quantum leaves a lot of uprooting or rerouting. I can't tell you how much I've been feeling this, and I really want to describe it because it throws me off for a loop, and I'm very good at this work. So if any of you are encountering this, it'll feel like your world is ending, which I don't want you to feel. So if I can help in any way, I will. When spirit is in the process of shifting your reality from the previous paradigm to your potential, your higher potential, your consciousness has to be uprooted like a tree, like you are being pulled up by the roots, because those roots are the grounding of the experiences you've lived, again, which creates the construct for your identity, which creates the facet of motivation and what you choose to act upon. You can't be something new by replacing the old with new. That's what one of my guides said to me yesterday, my elf friend. He said, you can't become new by replacing the old with new. You have to become an entirely new expression. You can't replace it, because that is to confirm the old with just like an updated version of the old reality. You have to actually completely transition out and away and create an entirely new identity and an entirely new expression. That process is like a tree being completely uprooted. Now, for those of you feeling these ascension symptoms right now, which I've been reading it in my comments, and I know you guys are, that process of uprooting is so vastly uncomfortable, because in those moments, which can be days, weeks, or even years of, and I hope it's not years for you, for me it tends to be weeks, but it's been a while. In that process of being uprooted, your energy, your identity, the sensation of how you identify yourself, what it is to be you, how you feel in your own body, your skin, your experience emotionally, physically, mentally, and spiritually, and in relationship to others, will, how else do you explain an uprooting? It'll feel like these roots have been buried in the earth. They understand a certain experience. They've been there for eons, growing, nourished by the dirt. And then you get pulled out. Like, there's a certain level of trauma there. So be gentle with that trauma. It's a lowercase t trauma. It's just like a level of discomfort that can feel traumatic to the energy system and to the body. That will come across like you needing more sleep. That will come across like you might feel like you're tripping during the day and you're sober, because it's you're expanding your consciousness faster than your mentality can keep up with. That will feel like you eating. I am typical, like I have been eating so much more that is ever typical for me, because I am moving through this uprooting process myself. And I'm like, man, this is like crazy. But your body needs more ability to root. And without your consciousness being grounded in a practical previous experience, it feels the need to create more grounding, which can come through food. That can come through sex. That can come through relationships. I'm just telling you guys to keep the caveat on all of those things to keep them healthy. Just because you're uprooted, don't do unconscious sex or unconscious eating or unconscious relationships. You know, don't try to hide the pain with any level of substance. Just like adapt to being okay with the emotional and mental discomfort, and then giving yourself some of that comfort, which can be a little more food, be a little more sleep. You might need more vitamins right now. You might need more relationship time. You might need more connection with friends than you're accustomed to. You might think you're being a little too emotional or a little too sensitive right now. That's okay. You're not being too sensitive. It's literally, they're showing me like sorry, I just had a call come in. Hopefully that'll still sync up. Okay, there's a sensitivity where when you pull the tree out of the ground, those roots have been accustomed to having pressure and soil around them. When they're feeling the air and the movement of the air around them, and again, this is just explaining the energetic experience that you may be having, they're very sensitive because they've never felt air before, and air is moving. There's different movement around it, and they're not grounded. So it can feel like you're hypersensitive. This will also be your emotional memory, they're telling me, as well as your nervous system being hypersensitive. Now, let me think if I can explain a hypersensitive nervous system. You might be more triggered easily. You might be anxious. You might be more emotionally volatile and not know why. You might be reaching towards eating habits to quiet your emotions and maybe haven't noticed until this moment where I've said it. Also, I'm completely empathetic towards you guys because I found myself doing that over the last week. I'm like, wow, am I emotional eating? I never do that. But it's because I'm uncomfortable. And I'm trying to find a way to root and ground. Just try to be conscious about all of it. Watch yourself and be gentle and just bringing your awareness to just the reality of, oh, I'm uncomfortable. If you guys have ever checked out EFT, that would be really great to help the nervous system as well, which is emotional freedom technique, which is where like you tap on your points, meridian points, right, in order to resolve energetic blockages and help like settle your nervous system. Look that up on YouTube. I'm not going to go through it in this video. Settling the nervous system, taking the right amount of vitamins, eating a balanced, healthy diet with a good amount of fat and protein, reducing your sugar intake, reducing your caffeine intake, reducing substance use will help to stabilize your nervous system. Journaling, feeling, crying, letting emotions out, not holding them back, understanding they're part of your experience, giving yourself permission to feel, not making those feelings mean anything, just giving yourself the permission to feel, feeling, letting them out, and then do whatever comes next for you. That's going to be stabilizing for your nervous system. I'll try to tag a video below in the description as well. I have a few videos on the body being the vessel to enlightenment and spirituality and helping to stabilize the nervous system. So I will leave that there. But understand that this rerouting is that process and that it's up to you to be conscious about restabilizing your nervous system, being gentle with and understanding the fact that your nervous system is on edge and doing whatever it is that you need to do to calm that down. For those of you in SoCal with me, go for a nice crisp swim in the ocean. Anything with salt water is going to help ground the energy. Taking Epsom salt baths, taking salt baths is going to help ground and switch over the just stabilize the literal energetic frequency in the nervous system. Breath work. Search for some easy breath work on YouTube, some easy pranayama on YouTube. Kundalini yoga is chock full of breath work and pranayama, which is why I love it so much. Pranayama is like my favorite aspect of yoga. Search for any, let me think, in Kundalini yoga, basic breath, the Basic Breath series. I love, if you guys search for any of these, you'll find the Kriyas, the asanas, and the breath work, the instructions, either on YouTube or on Google. Inner Conflict Resolver is a good one. You put your hands here and breathe. Anyway, you guys can search for that, Inner Conflict Resolver. Breath of Fire, which is the Ego Integrator, which is just a 3-minute activity where I didn't even know I was going to teach yoga. This is hilarious. Okay, so you roll your fingers back like this. You have your thumbs sticking straight up. This has to do with your ego, the thumbs of the ego. You hold them at 60 degrees. I don't know if you guys can see. I'll back up. Maybe I'll take you through this in a video at some point. Okay, you do this and you do Breath of Fire for 3 minutes. And Breath of Fire, oh my gosh, you guys clearly need this because they're taking me through explaining this channel. Breath of Fire is if you were to pant like a dog, right? And then close your mouth. It's a really powerful breath. It is navel pumping, okay? It brings a lot of fire into your navel. Do that with your arms up. You throw a timer on for 3 minutes. When you're done, you take a nice deep breath in and connect your thumbs together, okay? And then on your exhale, you sweep the arms down, all the way down to the ground. And then when you're ready, sit for a minute and feel what adjustments that made on you spiritually and energetically, of which are pretty monumental for a 3-minute breath exercise. That's gonna help settle your nervous system. You can do that every morning and or in the toughest periods of my life when I had access to these tools. I would do this like 3 to 4 times a day. I am not even kidding you. It would prevent my anxiety attacks. I don't need it like that anymore. I have a very stable nervous system in general, but that might be helpful for you guys. Okay, so there's that. That has to do with the uprooting. What else do I want to say on quantum leaping? Be kind and take no shit. All right, part of this quantum leap process is that you have to cut off the energy that has been feeding off of you in the previous reality that you were living, the previous identity. And that's not done gently. That's done with a take no shit attitude. It's also done by being kind. Mostly the kindness to yourself, to be very comfortable and very confident with having very active boundaries, even if it upsets some people, knowing that it's your right to have boundaries and that your energy should not be made highly accessible to everyone and their mom, that you are discerning, that you are of high value, and that you get to decide who gets access to your energy based on whether or not they've earned that trust with you. This is very simple human respect dynamics, but needs to be said, because it has to do with the quantum leaping paradigm, what your body, what your energetic expression is learning how to do in this reality. In order to make those leaps, you have to shut down the previous attachments to ideas, to certain people, to certain facets of relationships, not even the relationships themselves, but the expressions that have taken hold in the previous relationships. They can have new expressions, but you have to become new, set boundaries, and cut some cords and cut some attachments in the process of that happening. What my guides said to me yesterday that I thought was valuable, I don't typically think this way. I really am just such a peaceful person in general. But they said, you know, if you prepare for war-based thinking, if you understand, I'm not going to go into the specifics of that. This download is for the right person that can understand it, the right many people that will understand it, that listen. When you mentally prepare for war, you can then sit back and relax in peace because you're prepared for anything that shows up. And of course, also, they've said this to me, and I've known this too, but it was good for it to be highlighted to me again. You never have to go to war mentally, emotionally, spiritually, or anything if you're prepared to fight if you need to. If you're prepared to set the boundaries, if you're prepared to step into your strength, you likely won't need to use it. What's that Theodore Roosevelt quote? Like, speak softly, carry a big stick. There we go. All right. Message complete. Carry a big stick. Be kind. Okay, and another thing I want to say about, I don't know what number I'm on now, number 4 maybe, about this quantum leaping process that'll be helpful for you guys is get more comfortable in the process of quantum leaping, in the process of timeline jumping, in the process of opening up, another way people describe this is opening up new portals of reality and walking through those portals, closing down the previous timelines, allowing them to fall. There are many different aspects of language esoterically that we use in this paradigm. I'll try to illustrate as many of those as I can to capture the understanding of as many of you as I can, or help the understanding rather. So to be more comfortable in the quantum leaping process, the jumping process, the portals, walking into new portals, creating new portals, is don't fight it. All right? If you try to fight the jump, it's gonna feel really uncomfortable because you're mid-jump. You're already jumping. You're already leaping timelines. You're already in the process of shifting and changing your quantum expression. That's a freaking perfect word. Google search the shit out of that. I'm gonna be doing it after this because they streamed it through and I know that that's a term. Quantum expression. Hi, Morning Dew. It makes a lot of sense. Amazing. Girl, this was for you too. A lot of the stream is prompted on a comment you made recently. So thank you. Don't fight the process of jumping because you're already mid-jump. To fight it is, give me an example, you guys. You're time traveling. Quantum jumping is time traveling. It's all the same. It's like to fragment yourself off into multiple realities mid-jump. If you think about it in terms of quantum space travel, the way that most of these races, I don't know most, but I know that a way of quantum travel is they disintegrate the ships completely and entirely, then match the vibrational expression where they want to be in the quantum time-space continuum location. That location is a time-space geolocation or timestamp. And then they vibrate the timestamp, which then makes the object or the ship or the crew appear. If you fight in between that process, you'll fragment yourself off spiritually. It's just challenging. It's just pretty, like, I don't know. They're telling me not to go into the details. You don't need the details, but it's just that don't make it harder than it is. Allow the jump. Your ego will get on board with the jump. Your spirit and your soul will understand the jump just in receiving the mental delivery of what I'm bringing to your mental consciousness and awareness. In that process of the uprooting of this like quantum rearrangement of a new quantum expression that you're taking on, it's going to feel like you're in total complete chaos. You're going to feel like your entire life is either being stripped to shreds or like nothing makes sense anymore, or you're not sure because you don't have the context of how you previously assumed your life to be, so it'll feel like nothing makes sense or nothing fits. That can also look like a lot of physical rearranging, new jobs, new people, releasing relationships, letting a lot of people go. I'm sorry, it's part of the process. I won't beat around the bush around that, but I'm also not going to dive into it. So in that process, you want to allow God to rearrange your life. In the process of this like quantum untangling, yeah, we'll totally call it that. That's what it is, like a detangle. God is source, infinite intelligence, is in charge of the reconstruction, not you, okay? That's where we get caught up, is when we think that we're in charge of reconstructing our lives and getting ourselves on track. Can't be done because you could only do it from your previous perspective. So if it were up to you, if it were up to me, we would create the new identity based on the old identity. Can't be done. Can't be done. There would be no point in jumping. It would just be Groundhog's Day all over again with Bill Murray, right? Like living the same reality with just like a slightly different version of some weird ass quantum matrix of like some, like, I don't know, nightmare of time space. That's not what they're doing. So in the process of the detangling, you have to be completely recreated They're telling me the God consciousness, the Adam or the Eve. Like, you have to be completely recreated in your consciousness, which means your consciousness has to be stimulated to release all of your previous attachments, your previous material realities, and help you shift into a completely new expression of yourself and brand new identity. That process, most people hate because it can look like losing everything. I'm not going to beat around the bush, and I'm not telling you have to experience loss. But that's how it's coming through. Again, only take what resonates from this message. If it doesn't resonate, it's not for you, which means you should not attach to it, and don't make anything fit that is not for you and that doesn't feel good. Okay? This is just for the people that know they're getting over the hit over the head right now by their own spirit. All right? That's who this is for. And always, another caveat, I'm always going to say this, but I feel like it really needs to come through right now. Trust yourself. Trust yourself over everyone else, over a channel like this. If you're getting a weird flag or a weird intuitive hit that you're like, I don't know, trust that. Trust you. I can only speak from my experience and from what Source wants me to communicate to you. At the end of the day, I'm not in charge of you. At the end of the day, Source isn't even in charge of you. At the end of the day, you are in charge of your level of discernment on whether or not something feels right for you. And you have to trust yourself more than anything. You are your guru. Nobody can tell you how to live your life. Well, rather, they can tell you how to live your life, but you won't be in personal, authentic integrity. And you probably will be miserable. So, you guys know me at this point. I'm just going to say shit how it is. I do not have time to, like, circumnavigate mentally around things to make it an easier to digest package when I can just say what's going on. Not that I need to say this, but I'm going to for all my New Yorkers out there. I am a New Yorker. I was raised by native New Yorkers. My entire family are all native New Yorkers. It runs in my blood. We are direct, okay? We are direct humans. I'm like, oh, then there's a Starseed, whatever, the Starseed lineage. I'm like, and I'm Syrian. Like, whatever, I won't go into it. Anyway, direct. That's what I am. I also like to have fun, but anyway. Okay, part of being comfortable in leaping is also bringing conscious attentive to your own personal choice, your own free will, acknowledging that you are not helpless over God's process of rearranging your life, understanding that you have a say, and it's not for you to throw a temper tantrum and a fit and revert back to previous behaviors. It's that you have a say in volleying for your comfort in the process. You are entitled to a certain amount of comfort in the process. God won't give you that comfort unless you ask for it. God will frequently give you that comfort in a way that you don't know how to ask for, in a package that you weren't willing to receive or couldn't identify or had difficulty acknowledging. Comfort isn't always the material exactly what you're asking for. Comfort is what the soul expression needs to then feel comfortable enough and satiated enough to develop the character, the new identity from the new adversity, which is there as a crucible to create your new character. Bless that shit up. Do not be upset about it. I know that's hard for many of you, many of us. I'm trying to think if I curse my circumstances anymore. I really don't. I really am just like, oh yeah, well, you're putting me through the paces for a new identity, of course, because there's no other way to do it. Like, there's no other way to do it. Alchemy is taking a bunch of components, which are adversities, circumstances, raw ingredients, throwing them together into some sort of a pot and throwing that shit on hot, like lighting a fire. And then this is the energetic process of alchemy and the physical chemical process of alchemy, and then allowing the ingredients to become something new together where they are bonded as a new element. That new element is your new identity. There is no comfort in that heat, boiling, pressure process. The more that you understand this in your conscious awareness, the more your mentality gets it, the more your ego's on board, the more you'll just see it as the way, nothing to escape. And then as you move through the boiling process, you'll raise your hand and be like, yo, spirit, I want a little more comfort. Can you send me a couple friends that are like on those similar vibes, so at least I can have somebody to talk to? Like, can you send me, like start asking for some comfort. Can you make it a little bit easier on me? When I've been in my past, the points where I've gone through these big alchemical processes energetically, a lot of them have been very tumultuous. And I've learned at this point to ask for what I need for comfort. It's not always what I want. It's frequently not what I want, because that's what my ego wants. But I'm always provided for, and I can guarantee that if you guys pull the blinders off, you're always going to be resourced in the way that you need for what you need to find that comfort in your reality now. And the comfort is more just a mentality of seeking that safety blanket. Let me think about how to explain that. Nurturing your inner child, that's how it's being explained to me. That's the degree of, through whatever experience you're going through, being able to nurture your inner child and give your nervous system the relaxed state of emotional and physical balance that it needs in whatever way works for you. Again, it's all self-care. That could be journaling, it could be crying, it could be seeing your therapist, it could be seeing a coach, it could be doing yoga, it could be going out for nature walks, it could be grounding with a tree. Do you know how often I meditate with trees and I talk to them and I ground through them? It could be grounding with your feet in the grass. It could be other nervous system things. What have you got, guys? It could be playing. They're showing like playing at the beach or going on a roller coaster, or whatever your inner child needs is that comfort through the process of you being reconstructed. And that's going to be really important to acknowledge and get on board with. And then you can choose new from that place. When you know that and you create the comfort and stability for yourself emotionally to move through the process feels less assaulting, less like I don't know, the world against you somehow, or God against you. And it feels more of like, oh, like I'm just doing this is, I'm on the way to my next chapter. I'm quantum jumping right now. I'm like in the middle of space travel. There's just nothing comfortable about that. It's going to be temporary. Do I know how long it's going to take? No, it might take a year. It might take a few weeks. For a lot of us, it's a 6 to 18 month process. Maybe even more for some of you. I'm not saying that much less, but it's not looking at the whole process. It's going, well, I know that I'm in the shifting. I know that I'm in a travel mode. I know that I'm going from point A to point B. What can I do to make myself more comfortable during the process right now? And that's really, really, really important. Because as you're attentive to your own emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual needs, it's going to be a more enjoyable process. You'll be happier with the outcome because you gave yourself what you needed along the way and volleyed with spirit. You do have to not fight for your rights, but kind of. My guides say that sometimes, fight your right. My Divine Mother says to me almost every day, fight for your right to party. And I think it's fucking hilarious. But really it's about volleying for your rights to feel comfortable during the alchemical process of you becoming something new. Because you don't want to put off your gratification for later. You want to feel satiated now, which is about being present, about being alive, about being an active participant in the now, being self-accepting in the now. And this is a massive self-discovery process. Those were all of my notes. Thank you for attending my 90-minute workshop on quantum leaping. This is a fact, or you can listen to this as like a podcast episode. Maybe that's how I'll write it up. Anyway, you guys, I can feel this in the depths of my heart. Spirit wanted me to communicate this because of how helpful this is going to be for many of you in what will be a long-term jumping process where you are making even many micro jumps to build your new, bigger identity, to step into your destiny, into your authentic truth, into your authentic power, into what would have been your original soul contracts. And by original, I mean the highest vibrational soul contracts that you would have agreed to as the potential for your earth-based vacation here. Not falling to the circumstances of whatever the hell it is you've lived through. And honestly, I don't doubt you guys have lived through it, because I don't know a human that hasn't. I just don't. It's just part of the human experience. We are wrought with polarity. We are wrought with adversity. It is a cold, cruel world. It is also a highly warm and completely magically benevolent world. And the struggle and challenge about Earth is that both of those things are happening all the time, simultaneously. Contrast is real. You can't have one without the other. So with all of that, there's nobody without that. Like, that is the human experience. So my heart deeply goes out to absolutely each and every one of you. If I were to have analyzed this stream in my mind this morning, I would have been like, there's no way I'm shooting a 95-minute stream about quantum leaping. Like, what? Like, my ego would have been like, whatever. The lower level egos, right? But because I move into fast action, like I told you guys, I anchor the spiritual awareness into my material reality as quickly as possible. I just move. My heart was screaming at me this morning with urgency that this message needed to be communicated. And I don't doubt that there are dozens of you, if not hundreds of you, that needed to hear this so that you can feel the grace of feeling more comfortable in the process of you being on a bullet train timeline jump into your paradise. I'm going to say this in a number of different ways. Your paradise. The life you want to create. The life of your dreams. Your destiny. Releasing karmic baggage. Claiming your birthright. Claiming your birthright to health, wealth, love, and success. And relationships. I just saw your comment, Amy. Hello. Good to have you here. And I really just empathize with the process because I've been through it so many times. I've gotten very comfortable with it at this point, but I can feel the agony that so many people are in because I have been there of working this spiritual process without the mental understanding. The mental safety blanket of knowing what you're going through and why, because all of us that do this work are willing, right? Like, you're not shying back or away from the work. You might take it slow sometimes. Maybe you move faster other times, depending on the levels of energy you have available for yourself. You're willing, but when you don't understand, it feels like, from my personal experience, it feels like gears grinding, gears crunching. It takes so much faith to overcome a lack of mental understanding. And from deep within my heart, I was like, I have to deliver this message today, no matter how long it takes, even though I think this is an insanely long stream. I don't know what, you guys gotta let me know if you stay to the end. I'm always curious. I'm like, do people sit and listen to this whole thing? Like, should I chop them up smaller? Anyway, this is like my human self talking. You guys can let me know if you have any opinions there. I'm open to hearing them. But it's like, if you have mental understanding of the spiritual process, which is what I hope to deliver in any of these moments with you in videos, it just makes the whole thing more smooth. It takes so much less faith in order to move forward, in order to get on board with your spiritual process and with God and with Source, because you have the mental awareness. That mental awareness doesn't come with the operating system, all right? We don't live in a culture that's in its highest states of spiritual ascension. I don't know if you've noticed. I don't watch the news. I don't care to, but like, turn on the news, you'll find out. So there's like there are very little people talking about it. And if I were being honest, and I follow a lot of channels too, it's hard to embody this as a human. It's a challenging experience to experience it and to be able to articulate it. And that's where I feel like I'm very proud of the work that I've done, because I've done both. I've really worked on being in the process, being in the faith, being in the alchemy. I've also worked on being able to articulate what is happening to me, what is happening around me, how I feel, and how I work my work. And that's what I find my clients love the most about me, is my ability to translate and bring them into both worlds, which I would say is like the 5D world is like the transformation, the 3D world is the material mental, and 4D, the 4D is the mental reality space. So being able to bridge all of those aspects of our consciousness together, which brings your soul in alignment with your full experience now, which gives you access to more of your power now, allows you to be relaxed. Any of you that know the human body, when you're relaxed, you have more power. When you're tense, Tension requires energy. Tension takes energy. And if you're tense and the universe throws a curveball at you, good luck. Like, you're gonna get hit. You're gonna get hurt. And we get tested all the time with curveballs, right? Like from spirit. So it's like, you gotta be fluid. You gotta learn how to be relaxed. You gotta learn how to work with your mental states of awareness, not cling to them. You gotta learn how to let go of attachments pretty easily and being able to just be fluid. Bruce Lee says, be like water. You know, like be in the flow, work with your flow. Be attentive to your inner child, give them what they need, be attentive to your needs for comfort, not clinging for them, but acknowledging what comfort exists in your now reality as a resource. If you look for comfort, you'll find it. It may not come in the way that you thought comfort should come in the previous version of yourself, but you will always have a new version of some level of resource and comfort available emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually in order to get through your work, to get to the next stage. Spirit is not here trying to throw you through a train wreck. It just is part of the awakening process until we realize we can start volleying, but it's not the right word. Oh, God, I can't think of the word. Anyway, we're volleying for our comfort. Oh my God, the word is at the tip of my tongue and I can't see it. I just like need that. It's just a normal English word. Whatever, we'll let it go. Clearly it's not necessary right now. They're also telling me this is also for you to see just how perfectly imperfect I am and how I allow that to be my expression and how that's so okay for you as well. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to remember everything. You just got to show up authentically. And that is my safety blanket. That's my comfort in this process is I allow myself the comfort of it's okay. It's okay. Just trip, whatever. It's fine. Or not trip. It's not even a trip. It's just an acknowledgement. And I receive a lot of comfort in the vulnerability of publicly acknowledging what I'm going through honestly in the moment. That allows me to drop into the comfort where I don't feel like I have to guard, tense, or throw up masks. For any of you that is helpful for. I'm going to end this here. I love you guys so much. For those of you that do watch it to the end, drop a comment below. Let me know if you do. And if you enjoy things like this, I will do more extended workshop videos like this if you enjoy them or turn them into podcasts. Whatever style works for you. I, right now, am very open to your thoughts and opinions and ideas on this because I can feel that there's something that this needs to move into, this sort of a context of relationship of this sort of long form content that I'm not exactly sure what to do with. So I'm kind of counting on you guys, where it's spirit working through you to tell me like maybe where we can take this and how we can collaborate together as a big channel, as a big like little, cosmic family we've got over here. So that's what I've got. If you guys enjoy my vibe and my energy, I'd love to invite you to work with me in the number of ways that I have available. I have a couple of self-paced online programs. One is on radical authenticity, speaking your truth. The other one is on reading your own Akashic records and developing your psychic gifts. I have 2 personal one-on-one transformational accelerator programs, transformational programs. The first is the Phoenix, that is a personal transformation accelerator. The second one is called the Transformation Accelerator. That is a personal branding and life advice, spirituality-based consciousness program where you work one-on-one with me for a year and 6 months to a year, rather. Or even longer. I've had clients stay with me longer too, and they are all wonderful and beautiful. And if you watch this, I love you guys. I adore you. And I've also got a couple of meditation albums, you guys, that I think you're going to love. I'll leave those links below. And I just started a new Patreon because Spirit told me to, and it sounded like fun. So come find me on Patreon. Okay, that's what I've got. Before I run, I'm going to try to see if I can read some of these comments that you guys left midstream, so bear with me if you're still here for a minute. But I love you. I adore you. If you're new and you enjoy this, I would love to invite you to subscribe to my channel. Of course, tap that bell for notifications so you don't miss any energy updates or fun lives. Let's see if I can see your comments. It's always so funky when I'm trying to like navigate here with YouTube's different streams. Oh my God, there are a ton of comments, you guys. Oh, I love you. I love you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for vibing with this. Thank you for receiving the downloads. It's such a co-collaborative process with spirit. Like you guys are, your needs are feeding spirit, and spirit is sending me the messages on what to say based on the different energies that are associated to me and my channel. Okay, so I'm just gonna scoot through you guys. Official Nax, I'm so happy you're here. Sup, Acid Girl, I'm so happy you're here as well. It feels like I got so many answers and now I'm programmed for failure today. No, you're programmed for success now with this. Oops, I'm clicking out of the wrong things. I'm happy that you felt like you got some answers out of this though. Good to see you guys. I'm just scrolling through. Yeah, you guys, things are so funny. Always pay attention to what's happening. Not necessarily during the streams, but just like how the beeping was in the background. My internet went out twice. Like that is spirit. I'll tell you, my spirit guides speak through a lot of things. They speak through music. Like lyrics will get to me out of nowhere and I'll get a huge download off of it. They speak to me through sounds and the backgrounds of things. They speak to me through insects, through animals, through people, through telephone conversations getting cut off. That shit happens all the time. Through lights flickering, like all the things. So pay attention to your environment and what's happening because it is spirit speaking. I'm just skimming through your comments. I'll call out anything that feels relevant. It sounds like you guys were in resonance with this message. Oh my gosh, you guys, with your thank yous to me. Amy, thank you for being here too. Can't wait to watch from the beginning. Yeah. If this is, again, let me know you guys, because I'm a little insecure about it. I'm like trying to work, I'm like, gosh, is this too long? But this is how long the message had to be. It just did. It just did. You know? So I don't know. Let me know if you enjoy the longer form content. So much love. I adore you guys. Thank you so much for joining me. And until next time, I'll see you in the next video. Alrighty, peace.